Welcome to another episode of Your Music is Bad, and You Should Feel Bad with Matt and Blake. He's Matt, I'm Blake. We're talking about lots of stuff today. We're talking about modern rock. We're talking about Time 2 with good old Jari and his saunas. We might talk about Van and Plaz. We might talk about prog power stuff. We'll see what we get to. Anyway, Matt, where are you at on this stuff?
I think you mean modern yacht.
Is that what I said?
You said modern rock. Which
Look,
is
I had COVID a week ago, which means my brain
category.
is just everywhere.
That's fine. Also, we're gonna come up with a new way to do the intro because I wanna be able to cut it up into different episodes, and we're always like, here's what stuff we're talking about, and I'm like,
That's what I was kind of trying to do there.
but you just said all of them in a row, and so it's gonna be if I cut it into
separate times.
Okay, let's talk about time.
Let's talk about time.
Sorry, let's talk about Time 2, not to be confused with
specifically.
Time 1.
We might talk about Time 1 just for reference.
I didn't listen to all of Time 1 for reference, but I listened to the title track because when I asked Apple Music to play it, it just played the title track, which is Time 1, apparently. Or maybe it's just Time, but...
I listened to all of it once. Let's call it once. And I think the biggest problem there was that listening to Time 1 was a lot like listening to Time 2, and therefore felt redundant, so I didn't do it again.
I think it's better mixed, but
pretty similar in my experience.
Well, there was an inconsistency in the mixing on Time 2, I thought. And okay, let me try to remember it. I listened to Time 2 a couple times. The main thing is it's not terrible, but it's sort of like, so what? It's like you already said, it's like if you've heard Time 1, you're going to be unsurprised by Time 2.
Now, I will say, if you are an Erasure fan and you like things that evoke like Tengu and weird guys in too much makeup flying around in sakura leaf covered skies and stuff, Time 2 had a very Eastern Japanese, a lot of the Eastern scales and I can't remember the name of the instrument. I don't know, shamisen or whatever the thing. Very Eastern feeling, less so in Time 1, but also, yeah, it was like, hey, cool. I didn't think I was going to listen to Erasure, but I did. Other than that, it was not that exciting.
Yeah, because they're like supposed to be like folk black metal, but it's really power metal. Because it's like power metal, but like a little bit of black, a little bit of folk metal, but mostly I was like, hey, this is power metal. But that's also, I think that was why the first one was popular, is that it was an early example of blending black metal with like power metal, which at the time he probably thought he was doing clean vocals on black metal, but actually he was just doing black metal on power metal. And so
now I will say I did like Yari's distorted black metal style vocals. His clean vocals less so. I mean, they're, I guess, fine. The black metal vocals were good. It sounded good.
Yeah,
he should have done more of it.
I think his harsh vocals were good. His clean vocals were, I mean, I've heard worse, but yeah, they were okay.
Right.
Like the main thing, there were some inconsistencies in the mix. I mean, maybe I was expecting this too much from what I heard about his approach to recording it versus the first one, where it was like, he raised all this money for a studio, but apparently not to hire engineers or producers, just like, I got all this equipment now is better. And then recorded himself. I don't know. Okay, there's some research I should have done that I meant to do, but I am gainfully employed now, and that causes conflicts of interest.
Look. At some point, we just have to either avoid or lean into the sauna jokes. There was so much talk of everybody threw all this money at Jari, and there was a lack of transparency, and that pissed some people off. And maybe it shouldn't have, because ultimately it was just donating crap at some guy and him being like, here's bits and pieces and teasers. And did I build a sauna? I'm finished. What do you think? I hope you did. Fuck those people. No, don't fuck those people.
That's right. No, that's a lot of the controversy. Aside from, let's see, the first ones came out 2012, I believe,
which is a long time ago. Long time in between albums, whether they were crowd supported or not.
Yeah, about 12 years between them, and multiple crowdfunding. I mean, I think
there were a couple rounds.
There was one that was like specifically for Time 2. There was one that I believe wasn't strictly for Time 2, but that people still thought it was, because he was like, this will go towards building the studio that will ultimately also be used for Time 2. But then when people were like, hey, where's our Time 2, buddy? He was like, that wasn't for Time 2. That was just for the studio that I might make Time 2 in if I feel like it, and someday. And then he made a bunch of other albums that people didn't think were as good. And
I wanted to check myself on that too, because he made albums in between both these, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's not the 12 years between albums.
That's the
there was
problem.
the seasons, whatever thing.
Yeah.
Which
of
did
all
he
these 4 seasons
do crowdfunding for that, or did he just like, here's the thing?
I think he did.
Money for others.
I think that might have actually been the one that he crowdfunded towards the studio, and it was like, that was actually for that. But he also, people said that he promoted as like, but I'm gonna also use it to make Time 2. And here's some fun Wikipedia.
It's the old Wikipedia
fun
for
Wikipedia
the
facts. Oh, I see.
Oh God.
It was
it
was originally just supposed to be Time, and then they delayed that one, and then they split it into Time 1 and 2. Because I'm just gonna read through this section.
Give her.
Let's just read. Okay, there's a new podcast segment called Reading Wikipedia, where I just like read you the Wikipedia. Anyway,
it's fine.
2009, they announced they were canceling live appearances to work on this album and focus on it. This is paraphrasing. This is not reading it yet. Now I'm going to read. Okay. On November 17th, 2010, the band members announced on Wintersun's official website that the album was close to being completed for the most part, and that the synths and orchestration might be finished around December 2010, January 2011. Jari intended to start mixing the album afterwards. On December 25th, 2010, Jari stated on the Winter Madness message board that Winter Leaves was finished Silver Leaves was finished except for some orchestrations, which ended up being the final track on Time 2. This actually explains a lot of why they sound the same. And anyway, but that makes it even more confusing why it took so long to finish and release it. But
I think all of this, that you and I are confused, admittedly, maybe haven't done all the research, but the communication here, really, really bad. So I guess I can see why people are pissed off. But again, it's also donations, so you can't really be pissed off because it's not your money anymore. You gave it to the guy.
Yeah.
The whole thing is kind of a mess, and that's why it's kind of a joke. It's a lot of dialogue around music that's not like a standout or important or anything that is remotely relevant outside of a pretty niche part of the metal community.
It's okay. I mean,
sure, it's fine.
But the other thing
fine.
When I looked up that the first one came out in 2012, I kept thinking it came out earlier than that. I kept thinking it was like 2000 or 2001 or 2, because that's what it sounds like. And so already it was like, I think, so I maybe even giving them too much credit for mixing black metal, power metal. It's like, but by 2012, I mean, a lot of stuff's been mixed already. Okay, Silver Leaves was finished except for some orchestrations, except that one didn't come out in the first half. December 26th, 2010, Jari stated that 3 songs are finished and ready for mixing, and that 4 songs have bits and pieces missing, including vocals. On March 19th, 2011, Jari announced via the Winter Madness message board that mixing had been put on hold until late summer at the earliest due to various complications, ranging from a lack of 64-bit DAW plugins to noisy nearby construction. So you're not... Okay, maybe that's why he needed to raise money to build a studio, because his studio was maybe his bedroom? I guess his home. Like, it doesn't really say where they were recording. So
Had he considered doing it when they weren't doing the construction? Because construction is almost never 24/7. And if
yeah,
this is like your thing now, like, I don't know,
yeah, that
do it
seems
in
like
the off hours.
like me recording in an apartment in New York. That's a good excuse for me. For me, it's actually more that like I can hear people throwing out garbage in the alleyway out the
Sure.
window, and I don't want that on my album.
That's
Although
fair.
now I feel like I should have just recorded a bunch of that instead and used it
That's
on
probably
purpose on the album. But I'll use it when I'm not living in New York. So, but yeah, that's not really a good excuse. And then the lack of 64-bit. What are you talking like? I don't know. I don't remember exactly what year all the plugins started going 64-bit and stuff like that. But I don't think it was ever like use 32-bit. Like that's not a thing you need specifically. I don't think that is a good reason either. Okay, so Time was eventually announced to be split into two halves and released separately, with the titles of Time 1 and Time 2. Time 1 was released on October 19th, 2012 in Europe, and October 22, 2012 in North America. Production of Time 2 was then marred with years-long delays for a multitude of reasons until, and then it came out, announced in January, and then another crowdfunding campaign.
So the gist of this is be careful with your crowdfunding contributions, because some guys really suck at follow through. I guess we got it eventually, but it ain't anything that's worth waiting 12 years for. So
it's good to support artists, but
Absolutely.
also watch out for warning signs that it's not going to help, or that they're like, I don't know, like whatever this guy spent on the studio.
Temper your expectations.
Yeah.
You threw $15 at some guy halfway around the world. Maybe just be like, well, okay, I guess maybe I'll hear from something in a decade.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I think somebody had told me that when the first half came out on Nuclear Blast, they they sent it into somebody. So it was probably properly, it says he mixed it, but it's possible they, really had somebody else redo it or something, but I don't.
Yeah, it's also possible he mixed it and it was awful. And Nuclear Blast,
Right.
It's like, hey, we're a real label, so we'll take a look at this and clean it up.
That was what I got the impression of from somebody who knew more about it, telling me that on Facebook and being like, yeah, so he's doing this one all himself for real. But again, who knows if it actually still came out on Nuclear Blast? Who knows what they actually had him do? But what I felt with part 2 was certain tracks were like super strong emphasis on like the drums and guitars, and you barely hear the orchestration stuff. And then other tracks were a little more heavy, focused on the orchestration sounds. The drum tracks, I don't know. See, I don't know how much of this was even like, I assume these other humans played on it, although there is a credit for computer and keyboard programming.
Yes.
Actually, there's no keyboard playing credit. There's a credit for computer and keyboard programming, which supports my suspicion that all the orchestration was MIDI, because that's what it sounds like. It
Seems
all sounds
very likely.
like it's very programmed. The funny thing is, though, like samples and orchestral software plugins are all so good now.
Sure.
It doesn't have to sound like that. And so the fact that it was so obvious that it was fake in 2024 and maybe in 2012, that's a little bit less of a like, come on, you could have made it sound more real. Because there's all these bands do that, like Seven Spires, any symphonic metal band has a bunch of fake orchestrations, and they're generally convincing. They're not always amazingly written parts, but they're actually
it's power metal. It's not like it needs to be. It's the equivalent of a warm pad on your recording,
Right.
basically.
Somebody in the band knows how to program them to sound a little bit like maybe there were musicians that record, but they're not. But this was worse than all of those in terms of how much it sounded fake. Again, I kept thinking like the first one's from 2000, right? 2002 maybe? No. 2012, and part 2, which apparently was already recorded in 2010. some of it. The final track, the one they said was recorded, it was like just needed some orchestration, Silver Leaves, 13 and a half minutes long. Did not need to be that long. And I remember, okay, separate issues. One, I remember it ending with like a very long, like a minute and a half, maybe more of like, you know, like supposed to be leaf noises, like leaves in the wind or something.
Something like that, yeah.
But it's also bad, like, and it just sounds like static unless you like really like turn it up and like, I think that's leaves, but it mostly it is bad. Again,
bad concept, bad execution.
Yeah.
Bad. Shouldn't have done it.
And I caught, like, I didn't catch a ton of lyrics in this, but I caught a few lyrics in Silver Leaves, I think, and also in the title track. Because I after listening to Time 2, I was like, I was in the car, so I was like, tell Apple Music, you know, play, you know, Time or Time 1, maybe Time 1, and then it gave me something wrong, and then it's like, play Time by Wintersun, and it played the title track from the first one, which was called Time. And I thought the mix was a little better than that. It didn't sound that different, but at least I could hear the stuff. Like it wasn't like totally unbalanced towards like, because again, there was a couple tracks where the drums in Time 2 were super dry. Like I couldn't hear anything other than like kick and snare, and I couldn't tell if those were real or fake. There's a real drummer, but if it was real, it was just mixed in such a way that it sounded fake. So good job. That's not a thing that's supposed to happen unless you're doing electronic sound triggers. But even then, it should be better that a human played it and not sound fake. So
it's just such everything about this is just the silliest, dumbest thing.
And is like, that terrible? The worst thing.
How did we get here? How did we get to all this stupid shit where it's so like, is it fake? We don't know if it's fake or not. It seems like it might be fake, but there's a guy, but there's what happened? What happened, Jari?
I think it's one of these things where people just gave too much credit to the first one, especially after it was. That was the thing. I thought this was a Dream Theater or Pain of Salvation situation where they did a part 1 and then and they're like, we're gonna make we haven't actually recorded part 2. We have ideas, but it's not. It's in the ether. It's coming down the pipe. Or in
concepts
some cases,
of a plan.
Right. Or in some cases with like Dream Theater, there wasn't even it was never supposed to be part 2. They were literally just being pretentious, and they've admitted, they're like, oh yeah, we just thought it'd be a prog thing. We did part 1, and then they're like, what if we did part 2? It's like, what? You weren't gonna? You assholes. Sorry. So, but in this case, it was that just they were like,
reload.
They're so bad at recording and producing music. Like they just needed a producer. They need somebody to be like, what do you like? I don't know what they were doing, but like you couldn't have been, like you said, they're like, oh, I can hear construction. Like, can the microphone hear construction? Is the room you're recording in? Can they like then record in a different room? What are you doing? People do this all the time. Get some blankets. Get a closet. I don't know. Just this is nonsense. You don't know how to. So
throw some eggshells up, or not egg carton shit. You know.
Exactly.
Mattress pads.
Somebody should have intervened, but I mean, Nuclear Blast is kind of a big label now, but I think there's still more of a like, you get it done, you send it to us, we'll put it out, and we're not giving you money, but just get it done. So they need like a producer, but nobody cares about, or especially nobody cared before Time 1. So they split it into Time 1 and Time 2. That should have been the first sign. That should have been like nobody should have crowdfunded once they were like, we could only finish half this album, and then they put out Time 1, and it's like, granted, yes, it was 2 albums worth of material. Maybe it's better than actually putting them out together and having it be a double album. That's kind of boring.
Or you edit it down to the parts that need to be there, and you put out the stuff that is good and solid, and you cut the rest. I know you don't want to. What do you harm someone's artistic vision because all this material is good and it means something. It's
no. Sometimes your artistic vision is bloated and needs to be
put out a good album.
Yeah, no, you're right. That probably would
give me 2 minutes of leaf static.
Just time. Time 1, Time 2. I feel like there's a weird irony because I sidetracked my own thought about the lyrics. So I only caught a little bit of lyrics, but it was pretty much like in Time Part 2, lyrics about again, like so many other bands have used these same themes. It's like time moves on, so don't waste time. Follow your dreams, do what you need to do, whatever. And I'm like, I don't think you should put that on this album anymore, because you literally like, or are you trying to say that you learned that because you spent 12 years finishing this? Like, I don't. It's supposed to be ironic. It's like, don't do what I did with this album.
Yeah, that was it. I picked up on that exact same thing, and I think that's probably one of the things where I absolutely couldn't listen to it again, because I was like, yeah, you are saying what I would say to your face about what you're making while I'm listening to it. Yeah. So this is horribly meta. I don't want that at all, and you should not have done this to me. And that was the end of it.
Yeah. Jari definitely thinks this is like, finally I've done it. I've completed my opus, and I don't think we needed the first part of the opus. Like, really, it was okay. Like, I've heard a lot worse, but
sure. But again, it was all this constant. It was I don't know if constant, but a lot of promotion, a lot of self promotion, which gets irritating. I realize people have to do it, but all the this tier of whatever will get you this limited edition of a thing that's not finished and won't be, and even if it is, it won't be good. So just a ton of, here's a bunch of bullshit that's not useful, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to make more noise, and that's going to get you hyped for my really disappointing opus.
Yes.
It didn't work. There's a ton of build up to.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at on it.
I think what happened is, like, he accidentally did a brilliant piece of marketing, which is to say, by splitting it up into 1 and 2, it made people think that, like, if I like part 1, what's going to be in part 2? And it's like, just mostly the same. But like, people were like, oh man, it's like how I think I hate to even like mention Star Wars, but
yeah,
with the recent
let the hatred through
the recent disaster trilogy, a lot of people think that The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson's movie, was so brilliant just because it was so different and it went in its own direction. But the problem is, all of it going in its own direction was like, sure, rejecting all these existing expectations, but it didn't really replace them with anything. It was just sort of like, actually, no, to J.J. Abrams' first one. So J.J. Abrams is like setting all the stuff up that's mysterious, and he doesn't know where it's actually going. Ryan comes in and says, actually, it's not going where you thought it was at all. And then the third one, J.J. Abrams was like, whatever, let's just make some other shit. Because like, he didn't like, nobody knew what the third was going to be. But the point is, like, the second one, like, maybe it would be what people think it is if he had also made the third one and then answered his own questions. But he just did a better version of what J.J. Abrams did, with no idea what was coming after it. And so similarly, it's like the fact that they put out Time 1 is like, I can't imagine what Time 2 is going to be. This is Time 1. That's crazy. Like, and it's like, no, it's the same. It's the same thing. He just put out half of it. Like you said, he should have edited it down, just put out Time, and that would have been the whole thing. And then it might have been really good if he cut out a bunch of the boring stuff, because there's a bunch of boring stuff too.
You know who doesn't put out a bunch of boring stuff and puts out tight, interesting, little bits of media, little teasers, little things that are worth your time? There's a guy by the name of Donnie Benet.
Okay, hold on. Don't just like transition to another topic on me.
I'm kind of sick of Jari already.
All right, so. I have one more thing that I just want to get.
All right, what do you got?
Then we can pivot. But like,
all right,
give me a little warning next time. The worst. This is like the most straight up. Like, this part was bad. Like you said, there was some kind of like folk instruments, but whether there were some parts that whether they were guitar or folk instruments, the tone was so bad. It sounded like the kind of pickup that most acoustic guitars have in the bridge is a piezo or or piezo or who the fuck knows. I call it piezo because that seems maybe piezo. Who cares? I don't care. That kind of pickup makes a certain kind of like twangy kind of sound that a certain kind of like boing boing kind of thing happens. Basically, other than when those were new, and so like it generated a certain amount of like the late 80s, early 90s, like guitar tones, you don't want to just record with that pickup. You want to use some microphones, especially in a studio, and you blend it. This sounded like they recorded an extra track that was the piezo pickup and just the sounds you don't want from it. So that it's like mostly that twangy, tinny, like fake sounding thing, and very little of the actual acoustic instrument. And that was terrible. And there's a lot of that because, again, there's all these like folky parts. Again, maybe it was, I don't know if it was actually a folk acoustic instrument, but it sounded bad. And it sounded like they recorded whatever with a piezo pickup and then EQ'd out the parts that make it sound like a real instrument. And
that checks out.
That's what I hated the most. So yeah.
But I don't hate anything about Donnie Benet.
No. Okay. So Donnie Benet. How am I supposed to make it a totally separate episode?
I'm going to kill it. Sorry.
All right.